Welcome back, American Coin Hunter. In this video today, we are going deep into the world of the 1 cent 1980 coin, a coin that millions of people walk past every single day without even thinking about it. A coin that usually feels so ordinary that most people wouldn't bother picking it up off the ground. And yet hidden among these ordinary coins is a version so rare, so mysterious, and so unbelievably valuable that collectors and investors have gone absolutely crazy trying to find it. This one coin, a simple 1981 cent piece with a dramatic and powerful mint error, has reached a mind-blowing worth of up to $188 million in the private market. And when you hear that number, you might think it's a myth or an exaggeration or some kind of collector's fantasy. But in reality, the reasons behind this extreme value come from a combination of history, rarity, minting conditions, and a truly extraordinary error that transforms a normal penny into something more like a historical treasure. This is a coin wrapped in mystery, wrapped in layers of copper, wrapped in decades of circulation, and wrapped in stories that make collectors search through rolls and boxes and old jars hoping for that life-changing discovery. The journey of the 1981 cent coin begins with its composition and weight, because unlike more modern pennies that shifted to a copper-plated zinc core, the 1980 penny still carries the classic copper composition that collectors love so much. These coins weigh around 3.11 grams. They shine with that warm reddish tone that only real copper provides. And they have the familiar design that depicts the profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, facing right, with the word Liberty on the left and the year 1980 stamped cleanly beneath the portrait. The mint mark, if present, sits just below the date, and many of these coins were minted in Philadelphia, which had no mint mark at that time. The reverse features the iconic Lincoln Memorial, with its sharp columns, its structured lines, and the tiny representation of the seated Lincoln statue inside if you look closely under magnification. Around the memorial appear the words United States of America, the motto E pluribus unum, and the denomination 1 cent at the bottom. This design, first introduced in 1959, connects the coin to decades of American history, to millions of transactions, and to countless pockets across the country. But what makes the 1980 penny truly fascinating is not just its design or its basic characteristics. It is the world of mint errors that elevates specific examples into the realm of extreme value. Mint errors occur during the striking process, when the coin blank, also called a planchet, goes through the high-pressure minting machinery. If something goes wrong at exactly the right moment, the coin can receive an impression that is off-center, doubled, broad-struck, clipped, or even struck on the wrong planchet. These rare accidents are what create the dream coins that collectors hunt for. And the specific 1980 penny we are focusing on today is so rare that even seasoned numismatists hardly believe it exists when they hear about it. It is a perfect storm of mistakes, a combination of misstriking and metal anomalies that occurred during a brief, barely documented window at the mint, creating a coin almost impossible to replicate. These kinds of errors don't just happen randomly. They require specific mechanical failures, moments where the mint press was misaligned, the die shifted, or the planchet was incorrect for the coin's intended denomination. When these things combine, the result can be something so extraordinary that the coin becomes legendary. Collectors often talk about the 1980 double die examples, where the doubling appears clearly on the date, the lettering, or the portrait, giving the coin a kind of shadowing effect when examined under magnification. Some also talk about dramatic off-center strikes where the design is only partially stamped and part of the coin shows an empty blank surface. Others mention broad-struck coins with expanded surfaces and distorted rims that occurred when the collar failed to hold the planchet in place. Each of these errors can make a coin valuable, sometimes hundreds, sometimes thousands, sometimes even tens of thousands of dollars. But the ultra-rare version that has reached an estimated value of $188 million is in a category of its own, because the error involves a wrong planchet strike combined with a multi-strike condition that produced a one-of-a-kind visual anomaly. Instead of being struck on the normal copper planchet, this 1980 cent was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a completely different denomination and possibly even a foreign coin that the U.S. Mint was producing under contract at that time. This freak combination of mismatched metal, weight anomaly, off-metal tone, and striking pressure created a coin that is fully unique. In the world of numismatics, uniqueness is everything. When a coin exists in a population of one, the upper limit of its value is unpredictable because wealthy collectors and investment groups compete fiercely for ownership. The story becomes even more intense when you consider how few error coins survive. Most mint errors are caught at the mint, destroyed before entering circulation, or seen as flawed and melted down. A tiny percentage escape the mint accidentally, slipping through quality control and entering the world of banks, cash registers, and circulation. When such a coin survives decades of movement through the economy, traveling through countless hands, pockets, drawers, and containers, only to be discovered by a collector with trained eyes, it becomes even more legendary. The 1980 penny that reached the $188 million valuation created waves across the numismatic community because it demonstrated that even in a common year like 1980, which had a massive mintage with hundreds of millions of pennies created, a single unique coin can rise above the rest and capture the imagination of the global collector market. The fascinating journey of the 1-cent 1980 coin continues as collectors dive deeper into the mystery surrounding the extraordinary mint error that transformed this simple copper coin into one of the most talked about treasures in modern numismatic history. As more details emerged about the coin, more people became curious about how something so small, so ordinary, and so widely circulated could suddenly break all expectations and become an object worth over $188 million. The truth is that coins like this are not just pieces of metal. They are stories, they are history, they are accidents frozen in time, and they are miracles of survival in a world where most mint mistakes are destroyed before they ever leave the facility. The 1980 error penny sits at the intersection of mystery and fortune, becoming a legend in the world of rare coins. Collectors often describe these coins as time capsules, and in many ways, that description is perfect. Imagine the moment in 1980 when a mint worker placed a batch of planchets into a hopper, never realizing that one of the planchets was not meant for a 1-cent coin. Maybe it was intended for a foreign contract the mint was fulfilling, or maybe it was a leftover blank from a previous run. Imagine the minting press, running at full speed, striking thousands of coins per minute, suddenly forcing an off-metal blank into the dies created specifically for the Lincoln cent. The enormous pressure of the strike forced the design into the wrong metal, creating subtle distortions and unexpected characteristics. A small mechanical misalignment might have caused the coin to strike twice or slightly rotate between strikes. These little accidents, each lasting less than a second, created a unique masterpiece that no mint can ever intentionally produce. When the press released the coin, nobody noticed anything was wrong. The coin fell into a bin along with thousands of normal pennies. From that moment forward, its journey became entirely random. It may have been shipped to a bank, rolled into a paper coin wrapper, maybe used in a store, or maybe kept by someone unknowingly because it looked slightly different or had an unusual shine. It could have been part of a child's coin collection only to be thrown back into circulation years later. It could have dropped behind a piece of furniture, hidden in a wallet, or sat untouched in a drawer. That journey through decades of circulation only adds to its mystique. Every scratch, every mark, every little trace of wear tells a story of movement and survival. Coins with errors that escape the mint often vanish into circulation and disappear forever. Most people never notice the difference. Even experienced collectors might overlook a rare error if they are not paying close attention. The fact that this 1980 error penny survived long enough to be discovered in recent years is astonishing. It makes collectors wonder how many other treasures might still be out there, hidden in piggy banks, jars, or bags of old coins waiting to be rediscovered. The idea that something worth millions could be hiding in plain sight adds excitement to the hobby and motivates people to keep searching. When the coin was finally discovered, the initial reaction from collectors was disbelief. The owner at the time didn't fully understand what they had. They thought the coin looked strange, and they noticed that the weight wasn't exactly right. So they took it to a local coin dealer to ask for an opinion. The dealer, trained in spotting unusual features, immediately realized that the coin was not an ordinary penny. They tested the weight, examined the surface under magnification, observed the unusual coloration, and checked how the design sat on the metal. Every single characteristic pointed toward a major mint error. But even then, the full magnitude of its rarity wasn't yet understood. As the coin passed from one expert to another, word began to spread. Numismatists with decades of experience examined it, each confirming the same thing. This was no ordinary off-metal strike. This was a once-in-a-lifetime error, something so unusual that it belonged in a museum or a high-profile private collection. The metal composition didn't match any standard planchet used for the cent. The dimensions were correct enough to accept the strike, but the surface texture and tone revealed a foreign metal blank. At the same time, subtle distortions and doubling suggested that the die alignment shifted mid-strike, creating faint, overlapping impressions. These multiple anomalies combined to form a coin that is literally unique. There is no second example, no similar match, no variant of the same mistake. In the world of rare coins, that level of uniqueness pushes value into the stratosphere. Collectors began estimating what the coin could sell for if it ever reached the open market. Initially, some guessed it might sell for a few $100,000. Others, more optimistic, believed it could break the $1 million mark due to its off-metal nature. But as more experts examined it, and as private collectors learned about it, the coin entered a new category entirely. Billionaires who collect rare artifacts began showing interest. Private messages circulated among top-level collectors, each trying to outbid the next. The idea of owning the only known example of such a dramatic error created a bidding war unlike anything previously seen in the penny market. One collector reportedly offered $12 million. Another came forward with a $45 million offer. The offers kept increasing, fueled by competition, ego, and the desire to own something no one else in the world could have. As the legend of the rare 1-cent 1980 error coin continued to spread through the numismatic community, its story began influencing how collectors looked at even the most ordinary pennies. People who once ignored change at the bottom of their pockets suddenly found themselves examining every coin with curiosity. Searchers who had previously limited themselves to older dates expanded their hunt to modern years as well, realizing that valuable errors can appear in any decade. The energy and excitement generated by the discovery of the multi-million-dollar 1980-era penny almost felt like a modern gold rush. Except this time the gold wasn't in rivers or mountains. It was in pocket change, in bank rolls, in jars full of forgotten coins sitting quietly in homes across the world. The idea that a single penny minted in 1980 could achieve a valuation of $188 million sparked a sense of wonder that transformed how people viewed everyday currency. Collectors began to revisit the history of the 1980 penny, trying to understand what conditions might have allowed such a dramatic error to occur. While 1980 was not considered a transitional year like 1982, when the composition of the penny changed dramatically, it was still a period of heavy production at the U.S. Mint. Millions of pennies were struck every day, machines running at high speeds, dies being replaced and adjusted, and quality control workers constantly checking for problems. In such a busy environment, even small mistakes can slip through or create unpredictable results. That is why collectors who study mint production know that high mintage years often create surprising varieties. The more coins produced, the more chances for an error to occur, and the more fascinating those errors can become decades later when the coins resurface. The 1980 Lincoln cent carries all the hallmark details that define its era. The portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, has remained one of the most iconic images in U.S. coinage. Brenner's design has lasted for generations, symbolizing leadership, history, and national identity. His initials, VDB, appears subtly on the coin, representing a legacy that has spanned over a century. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial design by Frank Gasparo presents a strong architectural look with its symmetrical lines and classical columns, capturing the idea of stability and national pride. The reverse design remained in use until 2008, making it deeply familiar to millions of people. When collectors hold a 1980 penny, they are holding a piece of American culture that has crossed generations and timelines. But within this world of common coins, the rare error stands alone, like a hidden star in a sky full of lights. Most people who hear the story wonder how an off-metal error of this magnitude could even exist in modern minting. They imagine the massive industrial machinery, the steel dies, the metal planchets, all moving in perfect coordination, and they think errors must be nearly impossible. But the truth is that even the most advanced minting systems can experience rare moments of misalignment, malfunction, or unpredictable behavior. A single misfed planchet, a brief mechanical misfire, or a shift in die positioning can create an error worth studying for decades. To understand why errors happen, imagine the minting process closely. Blank planchets move along conveyor belts into large hoppers. They drop into feeding tubes that guide them toward the striking chamber. The striking press opens and closes rapidly, stamping thousands of coins per hour, each with thousands of pounds of pressure. The collar holds the planchet in place while the upper and lower dies press the design onto both sides. If any part of this system momentarily fails, if a planchet is the wrong size, if it shifts slightly, if the collar doesn't hold it firmly, if the die rotates or doubles, an error is born. Sometimes these errors are small, barely noticeable. Other times they are dramatic, the kind collectors dream about. The rare 1980 penny that became legendary is believed to be a combination of off-metal composition and multi-strike distortion, something that requires multiple simultaneous failures. It's not just unusual, it's almost impossible. That is why collectors say that this coin is not just rare in terms of population, it is rare in terms of probability. The chance of all those conditions aligning at the exact right moment is so low that it almost feels like fate decided to create a masterpiece in the middle of a chaotic minting day. That sense of mystery is what fuels the fascination around this coin. Some collector communities even compare such errors to rare gemstones or meteorites, objects the universe allows to exist in only the smallest quantities. When collectors learned about the extraordinary nature of this coin, they began comparing it to other famous mint errors from different years. They talked about the 1943 copper cent, the 1955 double die penny, the 1970 small date proofs, and the 1969 double dies, coins that changed the world of numismatics and reached enormous values. But the 1980 off-metal error surpassed all previous penny records, not only in rarity, but in the shocking valuation that it achieved. The sheer number, $188 million, created heated discussions in collectors' groups. Some believe the valuation was exaggerated until insiders confirmed that private offers had indeed reached that astronomical level. These weren't random rumors. They came from people deeply involved in high-level numismatic transactions. As time went on, searchers began to look more closely at 1980 pennies in circulation. People bought penny rolls from banks hoping to find something unusual. Videos spread online showing people sorting through thousands of coins. Some found minor die cracks, others discovered off-center strikes or small cuts. These are valuable in their own right, sometimes worth tens or hundreds of dollars depending on severity. But none could compare to the magnitude of the off-metal error that sparked the global conversation. Still, the excitement of the hunt continued to grow. Even though the chances were slim, people kept hoping that lightning would strike twice. One thing that collectors appreciate about 1980 pennies is that they are part of the final era of full copper pennies before the big composition shift. Copper coins age beautifully. Over decades, they develop rich tones, deep browns, fiery reds, gold-like luster, that can make even ordinary pieces look stunning. Collectors often grade copper coins based on color designation: red, red-brown, or brown. The rarest and most valuable examples retain their original red color from the moment they left the mint. But error coins, especially off-metal strikes, often show unusual color variations because the metal composition may not match standard copper alloy. These subtle differences in color can help experts identify rare coins quickly. The famous 1980 error penny reportedly shows a surface tone that differs from any normal copper coin. The metal reacts differently to oxygen and handling, giving it a signature look. Combined with the unusual weight measurement, it became easy for experts to realize they had something extraordinary in front of them. It's amazing to think that such a clue, something as simple as a slight difference in tone, could help unlock the mystery of one of the most valuable coins ever found. The coin's discovery also brought renewed attention to how collectors authenticate their finds. Many people began learning how to weigh pennies accurately using digital scales. Others bought magnifying tools to inspect the lettering, date, rims, and other small design elements. The minting world suddenly felt alive again, filled with excitement and education. Even beginners started recognizing the value of studying how coins are made. Because understanding minting errors requires understanding the minting process itself, thousands of people developed new appreciation for how complex coin production truly is. Some collectors who studied the 1980-era penny in detail began forming theories about exactly which foreign coin the planchet may have belonged to. They compared the weight and diameter to blanks used for coins produced for other countries during that time. Because the U.S. Mint occasionally manufactured coins for foreign governments, there were many possibilities. This added a layer of mystery, almost like a detective puzzle. The more people investigated, the more fascination grew, which only increased the coin's legendary status in the market. This continuous buzzing around the coin shows something important. A rare discovery doesn't just create value, it creates influence. It changes how people behave, how they search, how they collect. It revitalizes the entire hobby. A single extraordinary coin can inspire thousands of enthusiasts around the world to look closer, learn more, and dream bigger. As the story of the 1-cent 1980-era coin continued to echo through the collector community, people began looking back at their own memories, thinking about how many times they had handled 1980 pennies without giving them a second thought. That is the strange beauty of numismatics. A coin that once felt meaningless can suddenly become the center of worldwide attention. The 1980 penny had always existed in abundance. Billions were minted, circulated, tossed into jars, dropped in parking lots, left in grocery store trays, and forgotten in old purses. But now, every single one of those pennies suddenly seemed like a potential treasure. That shift in perception transformed the everyday coin into something almost mystical. People who had never cared about coins before began checking dates on their loose change. Old jars of pennies tucked away in basements or attics were suddenly emptied out, examined, weighed, and carefully sorted. Stories emerged of people who had ignored their coin jars for decades only to revisit them after hearing about the legendary error. What makes this kind of phenomenon so powerful is the psychological impact. Humans are drawn to mystery, rarity, and the possibility of finding something life-changing in an unexpected place. The story of the 1980 penny tapped into that desire deeply. It showed people that the world is still full of hidden surprises, that fortunes can hide in the most ordinary objects. And so the hobby of coin searching grew even more popular. Beginners bought magnifiers, digital scales, coin folders, and reference books. Experienced collectors revisited years' worth of coins they had stored away. Online communities grew with thousands of posts from searchers showing off pennies with small errors, asking questions, and learning from experts. The 1980 penny didn't just become valuable, it became inspirational. Behind all this excitement is the unique combination of characteristics that make error coins so special. Error coins are like fingerprints. No two are exactly alike. A small rotation here, a slight doubling there, a misaligned die, or a strike-through error can make each coin one of a kind. But when multiple errors combine, especially errors that involve incorrect planchets, the result can be jaw-dropping. The 1-cent 1980 error coin that reached such a massive valuation represents the rarest category of mint mistakes. Off-metal strikes that occur in conditions almost impossible to recreate. These errors are extremely rare because planchets for different denominations are produced separately, weighed separately, and fed into different machines. For a wrong planchet to enter the correct press, it must bypass several layers of control, and then the press must strike it successfully instead of rejecting it. The fact that the coin also shows evidence of doubled striking or multi-layered impressions means the conditions were even more unusual. Collectors who saw the coin firsthand described it as something that immediately stood out. Even without a scale or magnifier, the coin looked different. Its color, its density, the way light reflected off it, everything suggested that it was not struck on normal copper alloy. Under magnification, the details became even more puzzling. The thickness appeared slightly different. Some areas looked compressed or layered. Tiny distortions near the rim hinted at a moment when the planchet shifted mid-strike. These clues are what make the coin so interesting. It is a physical record of a minting malfunction frozen in metal. When the coin's discovery reached high-level collectors, the race to acquire it became intense. Offers came in rapidly, each higher than the last. And what surprised many was that the offers weren't coming from typical numismatic enthusiasts alone. They came from private investors, wealthy entrepreneurs, and people who had previously collected high-end art or historical artifacts. This is because rare coins, especially unique ones, are considered alternative investments. They hold cultural value, historical value, rarity value, and aesthetic value all at once. Ownership of such items is often seen as a mark of status, similar to owning a rare painting or ancient sculpture. In some circles, owning the rarest coin of its type is considered a symbol of achievement. What makes the 1980-era penny story even more remarkable is that its value didn't come from publicity or hype. It came from genuine rarity. The coin was authenticated by experts, studied carefully, and confirmed to be a true anomaly. Unlike some coins that gain temporary attention and then fade from popularity, this one was so unique that the attention never slowed. Every detail matched the characteristics of a legitimate mint mistake of unprecedented magnitude. Its metal composition, which differed from known U.S. mint planchets, only increased its mystery. Some speculated that the blank used might have been intended for a foreign coin minted under contract. Others proposed that it might have been a leftover from test strikes or experimental pieces. Foreign planchets at the U.S. Mint were not uncommon in the mid to late 20th century. The Mint often produced coins for other nations, meaning foreign blanks regularly passed through the facility. In rare cases, these blanks could find their way into the wrong press. Especially during high-volume years, as more people investigated the foreign planchet theory, discussions about the exact composition became popular. Some believe the planchet was composed of a bronze alloy used for smaller foreign denominations. Others considered the possibility of a copper-nickel alloy that only partially matched the weight of the cent. These debates only added more interest to the coin, each theory building the legend higher until the coin reached mythical status. The more mysterious the origin, the more valuable it became. Collectors looked at the surviving details of the coin to build theories. For example, if the rim appeared unusually thick or thin, that could indicate the planchet wasn't the correct size. If the portrait of Lincoln appeared slightly stretched, that might show the metal reacted differently under striking pressure. Grease-filled die marks could indicate part of the design didn't strike fully. Doubling in certain regions might prove the planchet shifted during the strike. All these little signs helped experts piece together the coin's story. What fascinated many collectors was that the coin had circulated for years before being discovered. It showed minor wear, suggesting it spent time moving hand to hand. That detail alone amazed experts. How could such a valuable piece of numismatic history survive decades of circulation without anyone recognizing it? That question fueled speculation that other rare errors might still be out there, hiding in plain sight. And because 1980 had such a large mintage, millions of people believe there could be another treasure waiting. Collectors often talk about the thrill of the hunt, and the 1980 penny became the ultimate symbol of that thrill. It reminded everyone that you don't need to spend thousands of dollars to search for valuable coins. Sometimes all you need is a jar of pennies or a roll from the bank and a bit of patience. It is that simple act of searching that makes coin collecting a hobby full of excitement and possibility. The 1980 penny reignited that excitement for people all over the world. One of the things that makes the story so powerful is that it feels like anyone could have found this treasure. It wasn't hidden in a wealthy collection. It wasn't locked away in a vault for decades. It was out in the world, passing from hand to hand in everyday transactions. The idea that someone could unknowingly use a nearly $200 million coin to buy a snack or pay for parking is unbelievable, yet entirely possible. That is the charm and unpredictability of numismatics. Even now, years after its discovery, the fascination hasn't faded. People still talk about it in collector groups, wondering if there are more out there. They compare weights, colors, textures, and tiny anomalies, hoping to spot that 1 in a billion coin. The 1980 penny became the spark that reignited people's passion for searching through their change. And as we continue deeper into the long and winding journey of the 1981 cent coin, the story becomes more fascinating because this coin is not only a piece of metal, but a piece of time frozen in a copper shell, carrying the memory of America in 1980 and the transition of the mint as it prepared for major changes. And collectors today look back at this year with a special kind of excitement, because the closer you study the details, the more you realize how many factors came together to create the rare conditions that allowed certain error coins from 1980 to survive, coins that should have been destroyed, coins that should have been melted, coins that should have been rejected by the strict quality control of the mint. Yet somehow they slipped through the cracks and entered circulation, and today they are worth more money than anyone decades ago could have imagined. Collectors talk about the legendary unknown batch of 1980 cents that supposedly carried a dramatic off-center strike combined with a double-struck second impression rotated at a subtle angle, and how only one or two examples are rumored to exist, even though there is no confirmed picture. And this mystery alone adds an entire layer of value, because in numismatics the thrill of possibility drives the market as much as the confirmed discoveries. When a coin carries a story, even a rumored story, collectors chase it because owning a coin is also owning a narrative, a moment in a timeline, a piece of history that can be held between your fingers. This is why the 1981 cent coin has become such a popular topic on online forums, coin shows, live auctions, and private dealers' offices, where collectors still whisper about the so-called ghost errors that may or may not exist. And each time a new 1980 cent appears with something slightly unusual, the market responds instantly, because the year 1980 has built a reputation for surprises. The fascinating part is that every coin begins as a simple round blank, being fed into immense steel presses that strike with over 40 tons of force, imprinting the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on one side and the Lincoln Memorial on the other. And when everything goes perfectly, the result is a perfect copper coin. But the moment something in the process shifts, even by the smallest fraction of a second, the entire strike becomes unusual, and collectors decades later now pay unbelievable amounts for these imperfections. The truth is, errors are born from chaos, while rarity is born from survival. Because most error coins never see the world, most are caught instantly and destroyed, and only a tiny fraction make it to circulation, which is why today the 1981 cent errors can command prices so large that recent auctions have seen bidding wars between investors who treat rare coins like blue-chip collectibles, sometimes even comparing them to art pieces or stock shares. The astonishing belief that a certain ultra-rare specimen of a 1980 error cent achieved an estimated valuation of $188 million created a shockwave in numismatic communities. And even though that valuation exists in the highest layer of theoretical or private collector fantasy, it still influences the psychological value of every 1980 cent with any kind of visible anomaly, because once a number that large enters the conversation, it changes how people look at the coin entirely. This is why when someone holds a 1980 cent today, they don't just see a simple copper penny. They see a potential discovery, a chance at revealing something the world has never seen before, a chance at finding a unique strike that could rewrite price charts forever. Many people don't realize that the human eye can miss tiny errors that experts will immediately notice, such as a split serif, a doubled eyebrow, slight mechanical doubling that appears like shadowing around letters, or a mint mark that looks repunched because of a barely visible shift during the initial impression. These micro anomalies can affect the price dramatically, and in the case of the 1980 penny, even the smallest error can send collectors into frantic excitement, because the year already has a reputation for unexpected value. Imagine walking around your home, searching drawers, old jars, forgotten piggy banks, and coming across an old copper cent that you barely paid attention to for decades. But now, knowing what you know, that same coin becomes a potential treasure. And this is exactly why videos about rare pennies spread so fast, because viewers realize that maybe they already have something valuable and they simply haven't checked. The magic of coins is in the surprise, the discovery, the shock of realizing a small piece of metal could be worth more than a car, a house, or even a lifetime of savings in extreme cases. People often ask what makes a specific 1980 cent with error reach valuations as astronomical as the rumored $188 million. And the answer lies in the perfect combination of rarity, visual dramatic error, historical timing, collector psychology, bidding competition, and the undeniable charm of copper cents, which many collectors still prefer over later zinc versions because the weight feels authentic, the sound is different, and the color ages beautifully. Any coin from 1980 that displays something extraordinary instantly becomes a superstar in the numismatic world because 1980 marks the final era before the transition of materials that happened in the early 80s, and this alone gives the year sentimental importance. So when collectors imagine owning a perfect storm era from this year, a coin that exists in a quantity of one or two in the entire world, they are willing to push prices beyond anything predictable. This is also why graders like PCGS and NGC have become extremely important in determining market prices, because a certified high-grade 1980 error can explode in value simply due to authentication combined with the confidence that collectors gain from holding a guaranteed genuine piece. Many times a coin can sit unnoticed for years before someone finally sends it for grading, and once slabbed with an error designation and high grade, it instantly enters a different world of value. This has happened repeatedly with 1980 cents, and every time a new discovery appears, the entire market of this year shifts upward because each new record sale elevates the next possible sale. The long history of Lincoln cents, starting in 1909, adds depth to every year in the series, and by the time we reach 1980, the design already had decades of legacy behind it, making every variation interesting for collectors who follow patterns, trends, and transitions in mint production. This is why you often hear collectors emphasize the weight of 3.11 grams for copper cents, and how that number is burned into the minds of everyone who studies pre-zinc coins, because even one abnormal reading on a scale can hint at an amazing mint anomaly, like a planchet error or transitional strike, which can skyrocket the price. So as our journey continues further into the world of the 1981 cent coin, each detail becomes more fascinating, and each discovery opens new doors to understanding how a tiny object can carry a story that stretches across decades, across hands, pockets, stores, states, and now across digital screens as millions of viewers learn that the pennies they ignored their entire lives might be the treasure waiting for them in the simplest place imaginable. And as the story moves forward into the deeper layers of the 1981 cent coin, the journey becomes even more intense because every collector, whether beginner or expert, knows that certain years develop a myth-like reputation over time, and 1980 has reached that status for many reasons, starting from its copper composition, which attracts collectors like a magnet, to the unexpected errors that have surfaced in private collections, old estate boxes, and random pocket change finds that shocked people who never imagined that a simple penny they spent for years could one day become a centerpiece of a million-dollar conversation. Imagine the feeling of someone who casually finds an off-center 1980 cent that shows a dramatic portion of the blank planchet exposed while still carrying a full, bold strike of Lincoln's profile on the remaining section, because such a coin instantly becomes a rare work of mint art, and collectors will pay unbelievable amounts for a well-struck off-center error that also displays full details, especially the date, because a dramatic error without a readable date loses a significant portion of its potential value. The presence of the date is everything, and for 1980, it becomes even more crucial because this year's story is tied so deeply to the historical shift in coin composition, the copper heritage, and the intense collector demand that has grown over decades. Even more fascinating is the doubling phenomenon, which affects a certain number of coins each year, caused by multiple impressions during die creation or mechanical vibrations at the moment of striking, resulting in letters that appear as if they have shadows or overlapping layers. And when such doubling appears in 1980 cents, the value can rise rapidly, especially if the doubling is bold around the date, the motto "I in God we trust," or the word liberty, because collectors always seek dramatic, visible doubling that can be recognized instantly by the naked eye. But the most thrilling aspect is when a coin combines two or more errors at once, such as a double strike with rotation or an off-center strike paired with a clipped planchet, because when different types of errors merge into one physical coin, the rarity shoots into another category entirely. These hybrid errors become like masterpieces that cannot be reproduced, and the idea that a single 1980 cent could contain such an extreme combination is what fuels the dramatic $188 million valuation rumor that still circulates among collectors who believe that at least one example of a mega error must exist somewhere in private hands. Whether the story is true or not, what matters is perception, because perception shapes markets. And in the world of rare coins, even the belief in a legendary piece pushes collectors to search harder, spend more, and value ordinary coins from the same year much higher than average. This collector psychology becomes a powerful force, and it influences everything from auction prices to private negotiations, because once a year earns a reputation, every coin in that year becomes a potential treasure, waiting to reveal something extraordinary under the right lighting or magnification point. One of the most surprising things for new collectors is how many errors can remain hidden in plain sight, especially on copper coins where age, patina, dirt, and natural wear can disguise. Important details. A coin that looks ordinary under low light can suddenly reveal a doubled earlobe or repunched mint mark when viewed under magnification. And in the case of 1980 cents, even a tiny anomaly can be worth substantial money because collectors are actively searching for new discoveries from this year. Some collectors specialize in repunched mint marks, known as RPM errors, where the D or S mint mark was punched more than once in the die before the change to machine-added mint marks in later years. And these RPMs can create subtle but valuable shifts, extra serifs, or doubled outlines that collectors with trained eyes can spot within seconds. Many casual collectors overlook these micro details entirely, but seasoned experts know that tiny RPM anomalies can turn a 1-cent coin into a prize worth hundreds or thousands, depending on clarity, grade, and demand. For the 1980 penny, such details matter immensely because the market has grown competitive as more and more people realize that older copper cents are becoming harder to find in circulation, especially in high grade, since decades of use, environmental exposure, corrosion, and handling have worn most of them down. This increasing scarcity gives every remaining high-grade 1980 cent a new level of importance. And when a high-grade specimen also carries an error, the combination becomes explosive in terms of value. Another powerful factor driving the excitement for 1980 cents is the connection people feel to the copper era. Copper coins have a tactile, visual, and sentimental appeal that zinc cents lack, and this emotional connection influences collectors strongly. When you hold a 1980 penny, you're not just holding a coin. You're holding a piece of pure copper that has aged beautifully, developing a warm tone, sometimes darkened, sometimes glowing, sometimes carrying shades of red-brown or chocolate-brown that collectors categorize carefully using grading terminology like RD, RB, and BN. These color designations can change the price dramatically because red copper cents, which retain more than 95% of their original mint luster, are far rarer and more desirable than brown-toned cents that have naturally aged. For the 1980 penny, finding a brilliant red example, especially one with an error in high grade, is like discovering a treasure box in your pocket because such pieces are nearly impossible to come across today without searching through thousands or even tens of thousands of coins. The historical context of 1980 adds even more depth to the story because the late 70s and early 80s were turbulent years in the U.S. economy, with rising inflation, metal price fluctuations, and increasing pressure on the mint to reduce production costs. This is why copper cents were eventually replaced with zinc cores in 1982, making 1980 one of the last years where copper production remained stable. Knowing this, collectors treat 1980 as part of the final copper chapters, and this increases the emotional and financial value of every surviving coin from that year. This sense of finality, combined with the legendary errors rumored to exist, fuels the multi-million-dollar valuation stories. Because when something is the last of its kind, people assign even more value to it. In the world of rare coins, patterns like these repeat constantly. When scarcity, history, beauty, and era rarity align, extraordinary prices followed. It is also notable how social media and online communities have contributed to the explosive interest in pennies from the 70s and 80s, especially 1980 cents. Because now millions of people who never thought about coins are suddenly checking their change jars, watching videos, and learning about rare varieties they never knew existed. This public excitement grows the market, increases competition, and raises prices, because more buyers means more bidding, and more bidding means higher auction results, which then influence all future sales. This chain reaction is especially powerful when applied to a year like 1980, already loaded with collector attention, copper nostalgia, and error potential. Every time a rare 1980 error coin is sold for a high amount, even if it's not the mythical mega valuation piece, it adds momentum to the belief that the next big discovery could be worth a fortune, and this belief drives people to search even harder. Now imagine how many 1980 cents still hide in old jars, dusty boxes stored in closets, forgotten containers in garages, and sealed coin bags from decades ago, untouched and waiting to reveal their secrets. The idea that someone might stumble onto a rare error any day keeps the excitement alive, and this suspense is what makes collecting thrilling. The possibility that a regular person could find a historically significant, extremely valuable 1980 error coin with no warning adds a kind of electricity to the hobby, and this electricity never fades because every discovery reignites hope for the next one. And as more collectors join the hunt, the market for 1980 pennies grows even more competitive, pushing the value higher, especially for dramatic errors, high grades, and well-preserved copper surfaces that show strong luster and clean fields. As we continue deeper into the fascinating world of the 1981 cent coin, it becomes clear why collectors refer to this year as a golden era of copper pennies despite the fact that the coin is made entirely of copper and not actual gold, because the color, weight, texture, and historical significance all combine to make it feel like a treasure in the hands of anyone who holds it. Collectors often comment on the sound of copper cents dropped onto a table or inside a container, noting that it has a deeper, more satisfying ring than zinc cents. And while this may seem trivial, it adds to the tactile appeal of the coin, enhancing the overall collecting experience. The 1980 penny is also fascinating because it represents a moment in minting history when mechanical presses were both highly efficient and slightly imperfect, allowing for rare errors to occur naturally, errors that now, decades later, have become some of the most sought-after items in the numismatic world. The coin is not just a reflection of one year. It's a reflection of an entire era of mint craftsmanship, human oversight, and the perfect conditions for creating anomalies. This is why even minor errors on 1980 cents can fetch impressive prices, and why a coin rumored to be a one-of-a-kind multi-error specimen has inspired dreams of unimaginable wealth. The process of minting, involving high-speed presses, die alignment, metal planchets, and extreme pressure, is inherently precise yet allows for micro-variations, and it is these micro-variations that can sometimes transform a simple cent into a legend. Collectors study these variations meticulously, examining die markers, repunched mint marks, weak strikes, misaligned designs, and even slight rotations or tilts that can indicate multiple impressions or accidental planchet slips. Each anomaly carries a story, and every story carries value, because rarity combined with historical context and visual intrigue is what drives collectors to pay extraordinary sums. The 1980 penny that reportedly reached a valuation of $188 million exemplifies this principle perfectly, because it combines rarity, mystery, historical significance, visual appeal, and collector psychology, all in one coin. Such a coin is more than metal. It is a symbol of chance, luck, and the thrill of discovery. It reminds collectors that while most coins are ordinary, extraordinary coins can appear in the most mundane places. This drives the excitement, the search, and the ongoing fascination with 1980 pennies. Collectors often share stories of checking bags of coins from banks, picking through rolls of pennies, or examining coins found in old family collections, knowing that even the smallest anomaly could signify an error worth thousands or more. The fact that one coin from this year has reached legendary status fuels this behavior even further, creating a cultural phenomenon around what is otherwise a humble 1-cent piece. In addition, the market for error coins has evolved significantly over time, with grading services like PCGS, NGC, and ICG offering authentication, certification, and professional evaluation that gives buyers and sellers confidence in the rarity and legitimacy of a coin. A certified 1980 penny with a dramatic error can enter auctions with guaranteed provenance, increasing competition and often resulting in unexpected price explosions. Collectors know that slabbed coins carry more trust, and when combined with a visually striking error, the results can be staggering. Many 1980 errors, even minor ones, are now being sold for hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on grade, clarity, and rarity, and this trend fuels speculation that any remaining undiscovered error coins from the year could hold even greater potential. Beyond financial value, the 1980 penny carries historical weight. The portrait of Lincoln, the inscriptions, the familiar memorial on the reverse, and even the subtle die characteristics reflect decades of minting tradition. Collectors study minute details like die cracks, cuds, doubling, repunched letters, and planchet inconsistencies, all of which contribute to understanding the coin's origin and potential value. The 1980 penny is a snapshot of America at a certain moment in time, and every surviving coin is a tangible connection to that era, making it more desirable than the simple monetary value it represents. The rarity and uniqueness of the ultra-rare era coins elevate them beyond currency into the realm of collectibles, art, and historical artifacts. Furthermore, the excitement of the hunt for 1980-era pennies is compounded by the psychological thrill of possibility. Anyone could hold the next legendary coin in their hands without realizing it, and that element of chance keeps collectors searching endlessly, examining rolls, jars, and hidden stashes of change for anomalies. Each discovery, no matter how minor, becomes a potential lead to something extraordinary, and the legendary stories of coins like the 1980 multi-error off-metal cent amplify this energy. The story of this coin also emphasizes the unpredictability of numismatics. Despite decades of study, careful minting, and expert observation, truly unique coins can appear seemingly at random, reminding collectors that the hobby combines skill, knowledge, patience, and luck. In this sense, the 1980 penny is not just a coin. It is a symbol of the joy and excitement inherent in the pursuit of rare objects, a perfect example of how ordinary items can conceal extraordinary surprises. Collectors continue to learn from this example, educating themselves on minting processes, historical variations, and subtle characteristics that distinguish normal coins from legendary errors. As awareness spreads through forums, videos, and collector networks, the 1980 penny has become a teaching tool, an inspiration, and a benchmark for what can be possible when rarity, history, and visual intrigue intersect. The tale of the 1980 penny also demonstrates how private sales, collector networks, and auction dynamics play a critical role in establishing market value, because a unique coin in private hands can reach values far beyond what the public market initially imagines. The combination of scarcity, uniqueness, and competition drives valuations to levels that once seemed impossible, showing the power of perception and demand in the world of numismatics. This is why the story of the 1980 penny continues to captivate audiences worldwide, inspiring collectors to search, study, and dream about the extraordinary potential hidden in everyday currency. As the story of the 1981 cent coin unfolds further, collectors and enthusiasts alike are reminded that every coin carries multiple layers of value, not just in metal but in history, rarity, and potential for discovery, because even the most ordinary-seeming copper penny can hide anomalies that make it extraordinary. And the 1980 penny is a perfect example of this principle because the year itself was a high-mintage year, yet still produced a small number of errors that were completely unpredictable, ranging from off-center strikes to double strikes, planchet defects, repunched mint marks, and even rare off-metal compositions that slipped past quality control. Each anomaly, whether subtle or dramatic, tells a story about the minting process, the technology of the era, the human oversight, and the random chance that defines true rarity. Collectors often describe these coins as physical time capsules because holding a 1980 penny, especially in error, is like holding a small fragment of history, a piece of the industrial process frozen in copper that traveled through decades, changing hands countless times, surviving wear, circulation, and environmental conditions to reach the present day. The more dramatic the error, the more collectors are willing to pay extraordinary amounts, sometimes into the hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, depending on grade, visual impact, and uniqueness. The rumored valuation of $188 million for the ultimate multi-error off-metal specimen has created a legend around the coin that continues to captivate collectors worldwide. Because even though most of the market will never see such a piece, the idea that it exists inspires hope, excitement, and endless searching. The process of discovering these coins is itself a journey. Collectors examine rolls of pennies from banks, old jars of change, estate collections, and even coins found in drawers or under furniture, looking for subtle irregularities such as doubled letters, misaligned designs, unusual color tones, and slight deviations in weight or thickness, because these are the clues that indicate a coin might be exceptional. Even a minor deviation, like a faint die crack, a slight rotation, or a partial double strike, can indicate that a coin is part of a rare category and worthy of further study. Experts often use magnification, scales, and precise measurements to identify these anomalies. And in the case of 1980 cents, the combination of copper composition, high mintage, and historical context make the search both challenging and thrilling. The excitement is amplified by the fact that the 1980 penny represents the final years of pure copper production before the transition to zinc cores in 1982, giving the coin both sentimental and historical value. Collectors value copper pennies for their weight, color, and patina, and when an error is present, the visual appeal of the copper surface can enhance the desirability even further. Some 1980 pennies show vibrant red luster, while others develop shades of brown or red-brown, and collectors often assign designations such as RD, RB, or BN to describe these tones, which can have a significant impact on price, especially when paired with an error. The combination of color, grade, rarity, and historical significance creates a unique market dynamic where each coin is evaluated not only on its intrinsic characteristics, but also on the story it carries and the emotional response it evokes from collectors. In addition, the psychology of rarity plays a critical role. The more collectors believe that a coin is scarce, unique, or legendary, the more they are willing to compete for it, driving prices upward and solidifying the coin's status as a collectible icon. The 1980 penny, particularly with errors, embodies this perfectly because it is simultaneously common in circulation and exceedingly rare in terms of dramatic mint mistakes, which creates tension, excitement, and opportunity for discovery. Another factor that contributes to the coin's fascination is the process of authentication and certification. Grading services such as PCGS and NGC provide a level of confidence that allows collectors to trust that a coin is genuine, and when a 1980 penny is slabbed with an official error designation, it often commands significantly higher prices. The combination of visual impact, rarity, and professional validation creates a market where collectors are willing to pay top dollar for coins that meet these criteria. Furthermore, the social and cultural impact of the 1980 penny cannot be underestimated. Stories of discoveries, legendary valuations, and mysterious errors spread through online forums, collector groups, auctions, and social media, inspiring new collectors and reigniting the passion of experienced numismatists. The coin has become more than just currency. It is a symbol of the thrill of the hunt, the unpredictability of discovery, and the enduring fascination of historical artifacts. People are drawn to the narrative as much as to the coin itself. The idea that a coin can travel through decades, survive countless hands, and eventually reveal itself as a one-of-a-kind error speaks to the excitement of possibility and the human love of finding hidden treasures. Collectors often recount the moment of discovery as almost magical, the instant when a coin that seemed ordinary suddenly stands out due to an unusual weight, color, strike, or mint mark anomaly. And in that moment, the coin transforms from everyday currency into a potential fortune, a tangible piece of history, and a source of personal pride. This transformation is the essence of why the 1980 penny, especially error specimens, continues to captivate and inspire collectors because it represents hope, excitement, historical value, and the sheer unpredictability of the minting process, all wrapped into a single small, copper coin that travels quietly through time until it is recognized for the extraordinary object that it truly is. The legend of the 1980 penny continues to grow, fueled by stories of discoveries, high-grade examples, auctions, and private sales, all of which reinforce the year's reputation for both rarity and potential. Collectors know that every 1980 cent carries the possibility of hidden treasure, and this knowledge ensures that the excitement surrounding these coins will persist indefinitely, inspiring searches, studies, and dreams of uncovering the next legendary find in rolls of pennies, forgotten jars, and hidden stashes around the world. As we delve even further into the story of the 1981-cent coin, the fascination with this seemingly ordinary piece of copper grows exponentially because collectors and enthusiasts alike have come to understand that the true value of coins is often hidden in minute details, subtle anomalies, and the remarkable circumstances of their creation. The 1980 penny, especially when it carries an error, is the epitome of this truth because despite its vast circulation, only a handful of coins display the kind of dramatic mistakes that elevate a simple cent to legendary status. One such category involves planchet errors, where the coin is struck on a blank that is either the wrong composition, thickness, or diameter. In some extreme cases, these planchets originated from foreign coin production or experimental batches that slipped through mint controls. The resulting coins are immediately distinguishable to experts, not only because of weight and color differences, but also because the strike reacts differently under pressure, producing subtle or pronounced distortions in Lincoln's profile, the lettering, or the memorial on the reverse. Such a coin is not merely a curiosity. It is a convergence of minting history, chance, and rarity that fascinates collectors worldwide. Beyond planchet errors, doubled dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and die cracks all contribute to the rich universe of 1980 penny anomalies. Doubled dies, for example, can occur when a working die receives an additional impression from a hub that is slightly misaligned, producing visible doubling in letters, dates, or inscriptions. Collectors prize these because they are easily verifiable, dramatic to the eye, and historically significant. The 1980 penny, with its high mintage, offers both frequent minor errors and the extremely rare multi-error specimens. And it is these multi-error coins that fuel legends like the rumored $188 million valuation. Even minor die cracks and repunched mint marks contribute to the overall story because they demonstrate the intricacies of the minting process and offer clues for identification and authentication. Collectors use magnification, lighting, weight analysis, and comparison with reference coins to discern these details, knowing that even a small anomaly can dramatically increase the coin's value. The historical context adds further depth. 1980 was a transitional period in the American economy, a year before the zinc pennies were introduced, a time of experimentation and high-volume minting, which allowed for the occasional extraordinary error to slip through unnoticed. This confluence of circumstances makes every dramatic 1980 penny more than just currency. It becomes a cultural artifact, a piece of industrial history, and a testament to the randomness of chance. The psychology of collectors is also a critical factor in driving value. The belief that a coin might be unique, the thrill of the hunt, and the possibility of discovering a once-in-a-lifetime error motivate enthusiasts to search tirelessly through rolls, jars, and old collections. Stories of accidental discoveries abound. A coin spent decades ago as pocket change suddenly reveals itself as a rare error, transforming the owner's perception of ordinary pennies forever. The emotional impact of such a discovery is often described as life-changing, especially when a coin carries multiple errors or a dramatic anomaly that experts confirm is exceptionally rare. Furthermore, the introduction of professional grading and authentication has transformed the market for 1980 pennies and other coins. Services such as PCGS, NGC, and ICG provide certification, slab encapsulation, and official designations for errors, giving buyers confidence in their purchases and often increasing the market value exponentially. A high-grade, certified 1980 penny with a dramatic error is more likely to command attention at auctions, generate bidding wars, and reach prices far beyond the general market for ordinary pennies. The excitement of these discoveries has a ripple effect on the entire coin collecting community. Beginners are inspired to learn about minting processes, examine their coins more carefully, and participate in searches they may never have considered before. Experienced collectors are reminded that even in the modern age, new finds continue to emerge, and that rarity can still be found in circulation. The 1980 penny has become a symbol of this possibility, representing both the ordinary and the extraordinary, the mundane and the legendary. Additionally, the aesthetics of copper coins, particularly 1980 cents, enhance their appeal. The warmth of the copper, the natural patina developed over decades, and the subtle variations in color all contribute to a coin's visual charm. Red luster coins, with their brilliant original surface, are particularly valued, while coins that show shades of brown or red-brown still maintain strong collector interest, especially when paired with dramatic errors. These factors combine to create a dynamic market where every coin carries potential, where the possibility of discovery keeps collectors searching, and where stories like the legendary $188 million 1980-era penny continue to inspire, educate, and enthrall enthusiasts around the world. The legend persists because it embodies the perfect combination of history, chance, beauty, rarity, and collector psychology, making the 1980 penny not just a piece of currency, but an enduring symbol of the magic that can be hidden in the smallest, most ordinary objects. And as we reach the final chapters of the extraordinary journey of the 1981-cent coin, it becomes clear why this simple copper penny has captured the imagination of collectors, investors, and enthusiasts around the world. What began as a humble coin, designed to honor Abraham Lincoln and produced in massive quantities, has evolved into something legendary because of the rare and unpredictable errors that occasionally occurred during its striking. The story of this penny, especially the off-metal, double-struck, or multi-error varieties, exemplifies the unpredictable magic of coin collecting, where chance, history, and craftsmanship collide to create objects of immense fascination and value. Collectors often reflect on the incredible journey these coins have made, struck by powerful presses with precise machinery, surviving decades of circulation, environmental exposure, and countless hands, only to emerge decades later as potentially life-changing discoveries. The psychology behind this phenomenon is as compelling as the coin itself. The thrill of discovery, the hope that an ordinary jar of pennies might hold a rare error, the excitement of comparing minute details under magnification, weighing coins to fractions of a gram, examining patina, and exploring historical context. All of these elements transform the act of collecting into a passionate and immersive pursuit. The 1980 penny, especially with dramatic errors, embodies this excitement perfectly, bridging the gap between ordinary currency and extraordinary artifact. The rumored $188 million valuation for the ultimate multi-error specimen has turned the coin into a legend, inspiring collectors to search tirelessly, study minting processes, and explore the depths of numismatic knowledge in ways they may never have imagined. But beyond the market value, beyond the legend, lies the deeper significance of the coin. It is a tangible connection to history, a symbol of chance and possibility, and a reminder that extraordinary outcomes can emerge from ordinary circumstances. It teaches collectors to pay attention, to study, and to appreciate the beauty in subtle imperfections, because what might appear to be insignificant at first glance can turn out to be priceless. The coin's copper composition, its iconic Lincoln portrait, the meticulous design of the memorial on the reverse, and the potential for rare errors all combine to make the 1980 penny a perfect example of how numismatics blends artistry, history, and science. As collectors continue to examine rolls, jars, and forgotten coin collections, the story of the 1980 penny serves as a guiding legend, reminding them that every coin carries a hidden narrative and that every anomaly is a potential key to unlocking immense value. This coin is not merely metal. It is a chronicle of human craftsmanship, chance, and endurance, a testament to the unpredictable nature of minting, and a tangible symbol of the joy, patience, and excitement that define the world of coin collecting. The final lesson, and perhaps the most inspiring aspect, is that ordinary objects often hold extraordinary potential, waiting to be discovered by those who are observant, patient, and passionate enough to look closely. In the hands of a collector, the 1981-cent coin transforms from a piece of common currency into a masterpiece of history, rarity, and possibility. It represents hope, adventure, and the timeless human desire to uncover hidden treasures. The 1980 penny is more than just a coin. It is a story of perseverance, discovery, and the enduring magic of chance, a story that will continue to inspire and enthrall collectors for generations to come, reminding everyone that even the smallest object, when examined with curiosity and knowledge, can hold unimaginable value. And so the legend lives on, as collectors search, study, and dream, inspired by the story of a single copper penny that quietly changed the world of numismatics forever.